Among the pantheon of most recognizable Fallout vaults of all time, without question, somewhere near the top would be Vault 108 from Fallout 3. Affectionately known as the Gary Vault by most players, this hidden hideaway in the middle of the Capital Wasteland is more than meets the eye. When you first enter inside, you are met with gruesome scenes of blood and decay, along with some dead bodies, all of one man named Gary, all with different numbers behind their name. And shortly after this, you stumble upon an alive version of the same man, accompanied by many of his other brethren, all shouting Gary at the top of their lungs and looking to try and kill you in a manic rage. It's one of the most absurd, sad, and almost funny vaults in the entire franchise, and it all comes down to what happened inside years before. You see, Vault 108 was meant to house 500 residents for just under 40 years, but was also designed so that in year 20, most of the vault's power supply would fail. Along with this, all standard positions of power were left unfilled, instead to be chosen by the Overseer themselves, and the Overseer selected to start the project was someone with a rare form of cancer and only 3 years left to live. Essentially, the vault was designed to fail from the beginning, but even more interestingly, in those early years, an experiment began to take place in human cloning. Scientists in the vault began testing with highly new tech for human cloning trials, and their subject they chose to test with was a man named Gary. But with each iteration of him that they cloned, the clones would simply shout the word Gary and act very aggressively towards everyone inside. So because of this, the clones were all kept in a containment facility in the science room. But after getting to clone number 54, finally the Garys had had enough and rose up against their captors and took over the vault, slaughtering everyone inside and driving the rest of the survivors outside of the vault. When you arrive as the Vault Dweller in Fallout 3, the vault is now nothing but a horrible murder scene of the past, with an army of this one man Gary shouting his name as they chase you with baseball bats. You can even find creepy remnants of the past, like a fully barricaded woman's bathroom or blood smears on the wall, and tell the harrowing story of this vault that was losing power and the people inside hiding in darkness from this army of one deranged man, Gary. It's one of the strangest vaults in the series' history without question, but also maybe one of the coolest and funniest. And on top of that, the vault itself is super creepy and full of interesting lore, so in many ways is one of the best examples of a Fallout vault of all time, both horrifying and hilarious at the same time. And once again, it shows the insane lengths scientists in the Fallout series were willing to go to further their research, and reveals that the biggest monsters in the series aren't always super mutants or ghouls, but rather the human beings we all call friends. In fact, it even makes you wonder what other random side experiments could have been happening in other vaults that don't even directly pertain to the main directive. Maybe there's even some other vaults out there that have gone completely off the rails as well, not even due to the wishes of Vault-Tec in the first place. Another lesser-known vault that finds itself outside Fallout canon, but is nonetheless fascinating and beloved, is Vault 43 from the One Man and a Crate Full of Puppets miniseries. Staffed with a super small population of people, the vault was made up of only 20 men and 10 women, all fending for themselves. However, the real horrifying part came from the other thing that was in this vault as well, a massive and hungry panther. Likely, early on in the vault, residents would have been curious as to what was going on, but soon when the panther emerged and found them, it would have poured onto its prey and eaten the first man or woman alive. The residents would have scattered around screaming and fearful, but while the panther feasted on its meal, this likely would have given some time for everyone to plan. And with a majority of the residents still remaining at this point likely, you would imagine that they could have banded together to take this one panther down, but we never get any actual information on this vault, so we'll never know. For example, if they were able to make makeshift weapons to stab this hulking beast, it would have been easy. But if the vault was staffed with say nothing, fighting a panther with your bare hands, even as a large group, might prove impossible. And also, what happened if they did defeat or all die to the panther? Would the vault doors simply open after as a celebration for the gladiatorial victory? And if they did, would this make this vault the fastest to open ever, beating even Vault 76? Regardless, it's hilarious to imagine completely weird experiments like this happening in the wasteland, where Vault-Tec and government employees designing vaults before the war like this must have been so sick, wanting to do nothing more than see humanity at its worst moments fighting for life. As most of you probably already know, the first season of the Fallout TV show on Amazon was a massive success. With over 65 million viewers in just a couple of weeks, the Fallout franchise has solidified itself as a juggernaut in not just games, but all of media. But part of the reason for the show's massive success is that it stayed so true to what made this series so great in the first place, and a big part of that is really awesome starting vaults. And in the case of Vaults 31 through 33, the build-ups and reveals in the show definitely hit that mark. The actual purpose of this trifecta of vaults all built next to one another was one big Vault-Tec secret. In Vault 31, in a massive chamber of cryogenic pods, some of the most loyal and dedicated Vault-Tec employees from the pre-war era were being housed asleep, all under the watchful eye of one of their own named Bud, only being kept alive in a RoboBrain container as he slowly went crazy. The vault was constructed with the sole purpose of allowing Vault-Tec members to survive hundreds of years later in order to then repopulate the wasteland and build anew. It was believed that these members would be perfect candidates for this process because they were such good management, and as Bud saw it, good management was the key to the future. But in order to actually build that future, the Vault-Tec employees in 31 needed a way to make more people, and that's where Vault 32 and 33 come in, breeding pools for those ancient human beings and cryopods. Residents in these vaults, while not management, were specifically chosen for their good genetics to help the Vault-Tec population. So every time an overseer from Vault 31 was about to perish, a new one would be woken up from cryogenic sleep and through rigged elections would become the overseer of the vaults yet again. And during this process, they would impregnate other vault dwellers in order to keep their lineage alive. In the show though, near the start we see Moldaver infiltrate Vault 32 and take Lucy's father, Overseer Hank, away. And this causes Lucy to venture out of the vault, and on the journey we see her go on in the show. It's here that she learns that years ago her mother inside the vault had actually discovered there were people outside that were alive and thriving, and that she was lied to. She took Lucy and her little brother to the surface and found the city of Shady Sands, a new stable society being formed under the NCR, or New California Republic. Hank, looking to find his children, made his way to Shady Sands where he was able to get his children back. But after begging his wife to come too, she said she wanted to stay in this new civilization and help rebuild Earth. But now seeing it for himself, Hank realized that Shady Sands and the NCR were actually competition for the future that Vault-Tec and the management teams had envisioned, and if left to its own devices, might even mean they wouldn't hold any power. So Hank did the unthinkable, and with his Vault-Tec credentials, decided to launch a nuclear bomb at Shady Sands and made his way back to the vault below as everything went up in flames. This sick and twisted man, along with everyone in Vault-Tec, were willing to stop at nothing to keep their power, even things like nuking an entire innocent and now flourishing society in the wasteland, or allowing residents in Vault 32 to die and be covered up once they found out about the experiments. It seems like every installment in the Fallout series is met with a large amount of love and hate alike. But one thing almost everyone agrees on is Far Harbor is one of the best things that happened to Fallout 4. This new and mysterious location is home to many new monsters, stories, and something usually unheard of for Bethesda, good writing. But for me, one of the most memorable parts of the entire DLC was actually one of the vaults that came along with it, Vault 118. Built beneath the Cliff's Edge Hotel in Far Harbor, it was originally planned as a sort of experiment of the higher and lower classes. Marked as an ultra-luxury portion of the hotel, the vault was supposed to be a home of 10 wealthy residents who lived in an affluent section of the interior, right next to 300 lower-class inhabitants who would have had to have listened to every single one of their demands. Inside, robots would carry out all requests from the rich dwellers, who would essentially live like old aristocracy or kings and queens. But midway through the construction of the vault, funding dried up for the more dingy second half of the experiment, and instead, at the suggestion of one of the rich financiers who was going to live inside the vault named Dr. Riggs, a researcher at General Atomics working on the robotics program, they could instead implant all of their brains into the recently developed RoboBrain project. These strange-looking automatrons, instead of using a central processing unit or CPU, had a live human brain attached to them instead. And in the case of Vault 118, these rich financiers actually actually liked the idea because it gave them a much longer lifespan, meaning more time to outlive the Great War and its aftermath until a new America and utopia could be born. So with the help of just one human overseer inside initially, when the bombs dropped, the vault was sealed away with only construction on the nicer half done, and only a couple robo-brains inside. In Fallout 4, you actually get a signal from this vault asking you for help, and when you arrive, you discover a horde of old and rich robo-brain human hybrids who are reaching out to the outside world because of a murder mystery that has just broken out. Someone inside the vault has been murdered, and all of the robo-brain humans are blaming each other for who did it, resulting in one of the most wacky but also memorable vaults in Fallout history, where you must basically solve a murder and mystery by talking to everyone and uncovering dark secrets in the vault's past. And also, a vault with some of the nicest interior decoration out there, which makes sense considering its origin. For me though, it's just another great example of how twisted and evil those with money in the Fallout universe can be, revealing that there's nothing they won't do in order to help themselves. And even more so, it's a great example of what makes Fallout such a legendary series in the first place. I mean seriously, try and imagine something this distinct or awesome in any other series. There just are no other games like it. It feels like one of the most underrated and important parts of any vault in Fallout is who is chosen as the Overseer. And in the case of Vault 114 from Fallout 4, I think they chose the perfect man for the job. Nicknamed Soup Can Harry, this presumably homeless man was given the position of overseer to this luxury and high-class vault in Boston after extensive rounds of interviews on multiple candidates. For this vault, Vault-Tec was looking to run an experiment where rich and pampered citizens were to be stripped of their amenities and live under the iron rule of a completely incompetent dictator. And well, Harry was about as incompetent as they come. He would constantly exclaim that the government used taxes to fund Illuminati Freemason sex parties, and even at one point let it slip that he literally eats Abraxo cleaner products when he said, "I seen them back of Abraxo boxes. No for consumption? Don't you tell me what to do, I'll eat what I want." A true American hero, in my eyes. For the Vault residents, however, they didn't quite see it like that, and complained endlessly about the conditions they had to live under from this divine dumpster diving hero. Sadly though, by 2287, the Vault had been overtaken by the mobster Skinny Malone and his crew of Triggermen, relinquishing Soup Can Harry from his duties. Maybe the greatest overseer there ever was.